what is your insight on the actual value of resistance bands, aside from them being portable and mobile and all of these attributes? Can we talk about the actual training aspect, the actual like resistance curve? Because I know at the top of the reps, they're heavier. What's unique about resistance band training?
It's a good question. I have definitely a biased standpoint here and definitely do have a dog in the fight. But to be completely candid, I think there's a number of things that make them a very beneficial mode of training when comparing to various alternatives, including weight. Specifically, as you'd mentioned, it does have a different resistance curve in the sense if you imagine doing like a bicep curl with 25-pound weight, it's basically 25 pounds through your entire range of motion, right? On the way down, gravity has the tendency to want to pull it straight down. So you're constantly pushing up against gravity versus with the bands, you can take that same plane of motion and kind of extrapolate it into any different vector. So you can press up, out, down, sideways, around, and still have load that you're challenged with. So, it gives you the ability to engage multiple muscle groups, in the same motion without putting excessive strain on your joints, which is a big differentiator. As I was alluded to earlier on, when you have the 25-pound weight and you're curling it, the same thing with a band, instead of being locked at 25 pounds resistance, the more you stretch the band, the more resistance it gives you, which complements the way your muscles work in the sense that as your bicep contracts, it gives you more force. So at the maximum point of resistance, when your arms are bent to their fullest, at the top of your rep, your muscles are firing at their peak and you're getting the most resistance from the band. So it kind of creates this nice harmonious blend of force. That makes sense.
It definitely is a harmonious blend of force. And it's something that you have to learn too, because when I take on a new client who wants to train from home and I program him a lot of band work, I'd say 50% of the time I get some, no pun intended, resistance from them because they think the resistance band is awkward at first. What's your go-to tip for someone just getting into resistance bands who might have that resistance?
Starting off light is going to be key. You can always scale up. You can start with a lighter band and really try and lock in your technique by focusing on your core, keeping your back straight, clean posture. And then if you have an anchor point, you can position yourself closer or further away from that anchor point to increase the resistance. Yeah, so you kind of just got to play with it. There's a little bit of a learning curve there to feel, okay, yeah, this is how I would do a row and a bench press in a gym. Now, how do I take that, and I can either do it laying down, I can do it, in a supine position. I can do it standing up. I can do it, sitting down. So you can figure out whatever resources you have available. If you can kind of adapt it to fit whatever space you have available to you. And then you can slowly start to scale up and make it more difficult and more of a challenge as you get more advanced by trying to add maybe a different movement. So instead of just doing a row, maybe you're doing a squat and a row combined, or you're doing it on one foot or on a Bosu ball, or you're doing squat row and then a twist. Kind of just tinker with it. At least my personal philosophy is that I enjoy working out. I want to try and do it as efficiently as possible and get the most amount of tension in different planes of motion as I can in each workout. So every time I do a workout, I'll figure out a new way to manipulate the training environment such that it's a new idea, whether it's just holding an exercise at the point of maximum tension in a isometric hold, and as long as you can until your muscles just fall apart and you fail in fatigue.
I think that playing with variables is something that people need to get comfortable with, especially when adopting new training modalities. That can be applied to anything, playing with time under tension, playing with combining movements, and actually just considering it a form of play. Like, hey, you need to get comfortable with this modality before you start pressing things to the limit. And for people that are trying to get comfortable, you have a lot of resources online already, right? Like a lot of tutorials.
Correct. Yeah, we do have, there's a lot of different exercise ideas. We have an exercise library on the site, and we put a lot of content on the site and on our Instagram and try and infuse as many different and new ideas from disparate training groups as possible. I think just kind of plugging in and doing a quick search either through Instagram or poking around on YouTube. Hey, I hear you're doing some personal training as well using the bands and are somewhat of an aficionado. Hey, I'd maybe give you a call as well.